Ooh. Happy 2021. Cheers. To making it through one of the worst years of our lives. I don't know if you guys like music like I do, but I absolutely adore it. Music has always been a part of my life, and for as long as I can remember, my dad played music all the time in the kitchen. When I came home from school, I would open Spotify and just slap on the latest dubstep or the latest Monster Cat compilation. It really was some of the greatest times of my life because I wasn't really worried about too much except for video games in school. But now I have emotions and a mental disorder, so it makes it a lot harder. Music for me, especially this year, was something that I held on to, and especially in a lot of the moments of this year that were hard for me. I went through a lot of personal stuff, and I know a lot of you did too as well. You know, I'm not like a music aficionado. I'm not Anthony Fantano. I'm not Sean C. Like, don't expect anything crazy or in-depth from this. I just want to talk about music because it means a lot to me. And I want to talk about what I was listening to this year and some of my favorite projects that I heard. And that really I kept finding myself coming back to. Alright, so the first project that I want to talk about that actually came out earlier this year, Oliver Tree's Ugly is Beautiful. And I was really excited to hear this record because, you know, I listened to a lot of the earlier leaks of this record. We had heard Alien Boy, had heard Cash Machine, and so I came back and when I saw that he dropped an album, I was really excited. In terms of genres, like, I can't really pinpoint what this album is supposed to be. I think that was part of Oliver's, like, idea here. But, like, the first half has all these, like, banger after banger, like 1993, that synth like noise that you hear. It's like don't. Cash Machine and Let Me Down were both really good. I listened to Let Me Down so many times. Bury Me Alive also caught me off guard because he goes for this like wacky rap instrumental. He starts singing and then he transitions into this rap phase. It started to kind of wane a little bit in the last half. I think the first few songs are really where it hit the most. A song like Introspective, for example, just felt kind of repetitive, and droning voice just didn't really fit on an instrumental, and while I like the electric guitar, it just didn't really sound right, and I wish he would have done something different with the last half. But overall, I think this album is one of my favorite projects of this year particularly because I felt like, you know, coming out of this age of internet music, Oliver was really one of the artists that I kept coming back to, and I was really excited to see some kind of individual project. Apparently this is also his last album, so cool, I guess. Another project that I want to point your attention to, if you haven't heard of it yet, it is the Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats collaboration on Unlocked. This was so cool. I loved this project so much. I already loved Kenny Beats. I already loved Denzel Curry. But hearing them come together, this was just so incredibly creative. It was so passion-filled. The production, all the instrumentals, everything on this album is just so great. I think my favorite part about this whole entire album is just like the samples that Kenny chooses. You know, they're very retro. They're very like internet glitchy type samples, but he does it so well, and the percussion that he chooses to accompany all of these samples is just absolutely fantastic. On tracks like Layup and Take It Back, I mean, especially Take It Back, like these like throbbing drums in the background on that second half of the track. It's just so good. It's one of my favorite tracks of this year, and I can't wait to see, you know, what he does in the future. As well as Kenny. Kenny is just one of my favorite producers, and he's done stuff for like Slow Tie, who I also really love, and who also had a great slew of singles this year. Yep, I'm a Logic fan. Boy, if you don't... Logic's final album, No Pressure. I was really hoping this was going to be a good album. I was on the way to the beach. I remember plugging in my headphones. The next day, I was so just ready to just listen to this album. I came to the conclusion that this is my second favorite Logic album. Only the second. I feel like his past few projects like Supermarket, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind were just so bad. They were so bad, and as a person who listened to Logic a lot in high school, grew up on this guy, it was just hard to go through those projects. It was one of those decisions that I was like, okay, he's going to make these decisions and then he's going to come back from it at some point. And this was the album that I figured he was going to make that comeback. It had that same exact aesthetic. Sam Spratt did the artwork again, just like he did it Under Pressure. I was ready for this to be a good album, and it was. It was fantastic. From front to back, there were only a few tracks that I just really didn't like or really didn't sit with me that well. A to Z being one of them, I felt like it was just kind of a cop-out, and it felt like he was trying a little too hard. My favorite tracks are definitely Growing Pains 4 and Heard Him Say, which I think Heard Him Say is probably the best song on the whole entire album. I really like how introspective Logic gets on Open Mic and Aquarius 3. Also a great track, probably my second favorite of the entire album. I found myself going back to this more than most of the album, actually. Just because I felt like his flows are just so great on that track. And, you know, maybe he's not really telling a greater story. It's not like super complex, but it still sounds great. And I think this is Logic in his prime. He sounds happy. He sounds like he's rapping about things that he wants to tell us about. No Pressure was definitely one of my favorite cuts from this year. And I'm sad to see Bobby go, but honestly, I think it was about his time. I hope that he, takes care of his kid. I hope him and his family are doing well as well. Back again on a different day, but still the same me. Except Ugly Air. Aminé's latest album, Limbo. As a listener, I never really gave Good For You a complete listen. And I honestly still haven't given it a full listen either. But when I saw that Limbo dropped this year, I was really excited because there was a lot of singles that I grew up on from Aminé, like Caroline, obviously. And his latest LP, 1.5, was also really good as well. I liked a lot of the cuts on that. Like Reel It In, obviously. Watching Aminé grow as an artist, grow as a producer, as a creative mind, has been really a pleasure, and I'm really, really happy with how this album turned out. My favorite track by far on the entire album was definitely Pressure in My Palms, featuring Slow Tie, which I already talked about earlier in this video, and Vince Staples. Both just show out on that, on both of their features, especially Vince. I haven't heard Vince go that hard since he did the Cave freestyle with Kenny. I also particularly like the last half, the beat switch up with the harmonies in the background, the little Burden also became one of my new favorite tracks from this album as well. I love the vocal sample in the background. It's so creative. It's so unique. I haven't heard anything like that this year. I'm not an aficionado, so, I don't want to come off as pretentious or anything. I just really, really like this album, and I really, really like his music. Tracks like Woodlawn and Compensating with Young Thug are also really great cuts. I especially like Woodlawn. I keep coming back to Woodlawn because I really like the flute in the background. I really like just his flow, and everything on that track is just immaculate. Also, I think Compensating was actually the first song I had heard off of the album. And I really liked the track, so I went ahead and listened to the entire album. And for my final album of the year, I actually just found out about this album. Wow. All I have to say is wow. The new Clipping album, Visions of Bodies Being Burned. This instantly became one of my favorite projects of this year. It is my favorite project of this year, by far. I've never been, an experimental music kind of guy. I've always just kind of listened to stuff that is popular, and honestly, this is just an honest critique of myself as well. I haven't really challenged myself to branch out into different styles of music. I've always loved music, and I really wanted to explore it more, and so this year for me has been a challenge of just, especially with all this time in quarantine, to explore new genres and new experiments within this sphere of my life. And it has paid off massively. I found so many good artists this year. I found so many good projects. This probably being the best that I found. The reason that I love this project so much, and it's not the fact that I'm actually kind of a horror junkie and I secretly really like horror. The amount of percussional creativity, I don't know if that's a phrase, but I played a lot of percussion throughout my life. That was actually the first instrument that I picked up was the drums. So I love percussion in general. Jonathan and William are two of my new favorite producers. Just the way that they tell the story with their percussion, along with rapper Daveed Diggs. Now, I've only really listened to some of the first half. I haven't really given the second half too much of a deeper listen, but I'm really excited to. I've only really grazed over the second half, so I'm really only going to talk about the first half for right now. But I really enjoyed the intro. I really enjoyed Say the Name. I really enjoyed 96 Neve Campbell. All three of those tracks were just absolutely fantastic. The first time that I heard Say the Name, I had the stankest face I had ever made, and I just started going like this. It was just it is just so good. If you're a fan of storytelling, if you're a fan of like experimental music, especially in the realm of hip-hop, I really recommend this album. I really couldn't tell you to go listen to this album enough. So those are some of my favorite projects from this year. There was a lot more. I'm actually going to link my Spotify down below if you're curious of what I listen to. I love music. Again, I can't say this enough. Music is a big part of my life. I enjoy it very much. I'm no aficionado. Some of my critiques could be very shallow and just not sounding very educated, but I like to talk about it sometimes. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more from me, a like would be appreciated. I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/JackYesSB. I try to go live at some point every week. And yeah, I hope you're taking care of yourselves during this weird time of our lives. And I hope that, you know, music, if you do like music, I hope that you use music in a great way. I don't plan on giving it up anytime soon. Take care of you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Cause I'm going to the top, so I guess that you're a bottom. Come and get him, you don't want him. Get the small and buying condoms, man, I really fucking miss, but I know my homies got